Okay, so it's 7 o'clock in the evening, and I haven't filmed for a couple of days. I'm feeling so much more calm. There's like a calm to me. I'll show you where I'm at. I'm overlooking I climbed up to this cave. That's a good picture. I'll take a picture. So I climbed up to this little cave inlay here in Nakhlamud. um, I started to notice a pattern on the twin flame journey. There are like pitfalls, and once you get the lesson, you rise. And then in meeting your twin again, you keep on going through these lessons. You keep on getting these mirrors and going through these lessons and rising through them. And then as you get the lessons, you into this pitfall because you are breaking your old belief system. You're like reinventing yourself. And in order to do that, you have to go through yourself and go through the pain and through the resolve. It's like going through mourning every time. Mourning, I mean, not like mourning in the morning. I mean, like when you mourn the loss of something. And mourning the loss of your beliefs is just as painful as, any other kind of mourning. You have to mourn the loss. So every single time that I go into one of these self-pity pitfalls, it seems like mini depressions, or I go through something, I get like the smack, 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 and then I have to overcome it, because in the twin flame journey, you still, no matter what, even when you get these mirrors and these like I want to call it like a smack in the face, but it is kind of like that. It's kind of like you, all of a sudden you get this like you're hit by a ton of bricks, like this understanding that you're off in a way, in some way. It's like you get this big lesson, and in the lesson there's pain because your ego is fighting against it. It's like slowly the death of your ego. And I think that I'm even thinking that the ability to make these videos is because my ego has gotten so many. Yes, I've learned to lower my ego so far that there is no shame in anything. Everything is legitimate. I'm doing the self work. As long as I'm doing the self work, and I'm not trying to hide away from it or make excuses for myself so that I can continue to be right when I'm not right. As long as I'm setting myself right, then I'm proud of myself. Even if it means that I have to admit that I have been wrong and that I've been having these wrong ways of thinking, it's almost like it's like blind spots. It's like blind spots in ourselves. Like we have these blind spots that we don't know that we're doing, that our thinking is off, that we don't know that what we're doing is wrong, or and 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 that it is the ego that is blinding us because we're hurt in a certain way, and we are kind of like not wanting to admit, not wanting to give up on the thought, or not wanting to like lose out on something, which is really silly because we're holding on to falsities. And then it's like there's more pain in holding on to falsities, because when you're out of whack with the universe and you're out of sync with the way that things are, then you're always having to protect this place that you're out of sync. If you're out of sync and you're fighting against, you're constantly fighting against. That means if like I'm holding on to a belief that isn't accurate, and I'll give an example in a minute. If I'm holding on to a belief that isn't accurate, then I'm always having to fight for my truth. I'm always having to prove my truth to be correct. And when my truth isn't the truth, then there's pain in that, because I'm always, because the universe is always accurate. The universe is always in sync. Um, Nature is always in sync, and in places that I'm not in sync, I'm fighting against nature. So I'm going against the natural flow of things, and if I'm going against the natural flow of things, I'm having to hold myself in place instead of just allowing myself to flow, and then everything comes into sync. When you have to hold yourself in place, you're always worried. You're always having to protect that place because it's not protected by nature. I hope that is clear. Those are the clearest words that I can find for it, without over explaining it again and again and again. But I'll go ahead and set and put down like an example of this. Okay, so the other day I made a video that I was in such a weak spot. I was in such a, feeling sorry for myself. You could call it the, I don't know, the being a victim syndrome, being a victim. And I was feeling sorry for myself, and I did a video even on it. I was bashing or kind of, I'm almost embarrassed to say it, but this is like this is the ego turning the ego inside out. This is like swallowing through it and kind of like, okay, I'm gonna have to admit it. So I was bashing my twin, and it was not right, right? Because I understand now that this whole twin flame journey is about finding unconditional love. What is unconditional love? When you find unconditional love that is true unconditional love, that is the language of the universe. That is the ultimate language. That is sync. Um, Love, when you're in pure love or unconditional love, that then you are in pure synchronicity with the all. You are in love with everything and yourself included, because you are everything and everything is you. You are of this world and you're part of it, and you are part of creation, and you're part of this entire mechanism. And you can call it whatever you want, the all. We're all part of it. We're all living in harmony. We think we're apart from it, but we're not. I mean, the food that we eat, everything that we do is dependent on everything else. The earth, we are dependent on the earth as the earth is dependent on us. We eat the fruit from the trees that come from the ground, that the ground is given life from life that dissolves back into the earth. Everything is in one big cycle, and we're part of the cycle. Think about it. In nature, we go and we pick fruit from the tree. The tree like gives us it's like the fruit is the beauty of the tree. It's what it has, its offering to the universe. And so it gives us its offerings with its seeds, which are like its offspring in. We eat the fruit, and we take the seeds, and we spread them around the land. By nature, we are a part of nature. So we would, go and make our needs in nature around the same area. So we're part of the cycle. We're taking from the tree and we're putting it back into the ground, taking from the tree and putting it back into ground, and new sprouts come up. And then when we die, we go back into the ground. And by going back into the ground, we re-nourish the ground. So we're a part of this whole big mishmash. And this whole cycle of life, and not apart from. We are a part of, a part of, and we cannot be disconnected from it. We're part of the cycle of life. We cannot be disconnected from it. And if we disconnect ourselves from it, as we are doing now in the process of trying to disconnect, because we don't take into consideration where we come from. We don't take animals into consideration. We harvest animals. Think about it. We use them for their babies and for their meat and for their milk. We use them, and because of money, and we give them as little as possible. We try to take care of them as cheap as we can. So we don't actually create the ideal habitat for them. So we're like trying to manipulate nature according to our own greedy needs. And in doing that, we're getting our own selves out of sync with nature. We don't really even understand nature. I go to the beach down here, and people go camping. And I was thinking about it when I was driving back home, because they have this, there's like a few trees, there's quite a few trees there, but there's some trees there that have really good, they're like this big around, Ta'anim, what are they called? Fruit. If I remember the name, they're not dates. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to get stuck on it. But when you go up behind the tree, like to pick the fruit, there's like feces everywhere. Feces and toilet paper, and it's thrown there, and it stinks, and it's just on top of the ground. And I was thinking, what would our ancestors think? What would our ancestors who lived in places like this? And then there's tons of flies. Like if you lived in a way that you put your feces back into the ground, you would make sure to cover it up. That was something that I learned from when I was really little. We went and lived on top of a mountain. If you go out and poop in nature, cover it up. Either make a hole and poop into it, and then cover it with dirt, or cover it with rocks or something. Give it back into the ground. You don't just lay it on top of the ground and walk off, especially if it's a camping area. And the whole summer of people doing that, it makes it to where it's not even fun to go camping there. You can't even get around the fig. It's a fig tree. Can't even get around the fig tree because of it. And I was thinking, what would our ancestors think of us? They would think that we're like dumbasses, really. It's like when a white man came to the Americas, and the the Indians that were living there, Native Americans that were living there before. It's like I imagine the people that came from Europe that came and moved in there looked like to them, disconnected from nature and didn't know how to live off of nature. They were trying to make colonies, but they didn't really even know what they were doing. And already this is way back 400, 500 years ago. And they probably looked like an elephant in a china shop, or something to that manner. So I get off on these little spills. I get off of subjects and go like into like little other subjects. So where was I? So I was talking about the language of the universe being language of love. And on the twin flame journey, you are learning self-love, and you are learning unconditional love. Because with your twin, you can't disconnect from them. And you keep on getting these lessons again and again and again. You keep on getting these lessons in the mirrors, and all the places that you're out of sync, they just tend to like rise. It's like oil and water. Wherever you're out of sync, whenever you meet with your twin, it like rises to the top, whatever it is. And so the other day when I was making that video, and I was bashing, and afterwards, when was it? Was it that evening? It was that evening that I had smoked, and then I felt like crap because I had smoked. And then I called my twin, because I always feel like an obligation to when I fall into, like, I do something like that. I always feel like this obligation that I have to tell him, like he's like my, I don't know. I feel obligated, like, and not because he makes me feel obligated, because I feel like I'm not being loyal to him if I don't tell him about things like that. It's like uh, I I can't really explain it. It's like I feel that if I do something like that and I fall out of sync with myself, there's certain things that I have to tell him. Like that, I would have to tell him if I had any kind of if I know that if I have any kind of sexual relationship with anybody, I feel like I would be obligated to tell him because it's just I can't keep something like that from him. It's like I feel like it's an obligation almost, just because of the way that we are. But also, I went over to my friends and the conversation went sideways about him. And when I left there, I felt like crap. I felt like crap. I really did. And I felt like crap the rest of the day and most of the day after. But then that evening I talked to him and I had to tell him because I couldn't sit on it. And so I told him and and then he said something to the effect of that there's certain things that he trusts me with, that he trusts me more than most people that he knows, but there's certain things that he doesn't trust me with. And so I asked him, "What don't you trust me with?" Because I want to better myself. And I didn't ask him like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" I asked him because I know him. If there's things that he says that he doesn't trust me with, then I know that there's a reason behind it. And I know that I want to know the reason because it's a place where I can better myself. So he said in places like that, like that if somebody's saying something, if I'm having a conversation and I'm not sticking up for him or I'm not, because I know how good of a person he is. I know that he is writing himself with just like me. It seems like we're the same in that way, that we're, writing ourselves, making ourselves right in the way that we want to do the self work. We're trying to, and I feel like he, he can guide me on that because there's places that I know that I'm still off because how do I know? Because there's still places that I feel fogginess, like places that I feel like I don't have the answers. And if I was in sync with myself, I would and I had in places that I don't have clarity, I know that I'm still rising in those places because in the places that you don't have clarity, it's because you don't have the answers to because you're not in sync with setting yourself right with being righteous, with being in sync with nature. Once you're in sync with nature, it's like you're in sync with the divine. You speak the language of love and you see things clearly and your ego is out of the way. It's like you dissipate your ego and it's like you tame your ego and then your ego becomes your ultimate tool for your use. Ooh, I like this. I like this video. I really didn't quite know where it was going to go. When I turned it on, I just kind of knew that I wanted to do a video because the last videos that I did were like really weak. And I've come over the last few days, I've come so far. There's like a calmness over me with the lessons that I got to, and they are so like refined. You get to a place where the lessons are like, it's like you're with tweezers, and it's like these little tiny nuances that are way in there. And they're super painful, but it's almost like when you keep on going through the lessons, you find the patterns in it. And when you go through the lessons, they're still as painful. They can even be more painful than usual because these are like the deep wounds, the deep inlaid, inset, intertwined with your being, with your whole identity of who you are. The things that have been in there from when you were a tiny child, the beliefs that you never even could imagine that you have. You think you've overcome them, and then when you find them, it's so painful because it's like, what? How could that be? How could I be so off on the in these places and they seem like huge, like with the twin bashing. I was so off. It's so, I think that I love my twin unconditionally. And then you see the conditions. It's like, wait a minute. What is the conditions? The conditions that he puts me first. The conditions that, do I really want what's best for him and what he wants for himself in his life? Or do I want that only in the condition that what he wants in his life is what I want for me as well, and then, and you see the places that you're off. You see the places that you like treat him poorly, if not to his face, behind his back. Treat him poorly because he's not doing what I want him to do, or whatever my expectation is of what my being wants, my ego being, yeah, because it's the easiest to let go and allow. And it's also the funnest, because when you let go and allow and you truly love somebody unconditionally, then you just enjoy their being. You just enjoy what they're doing. It's like he's so cute in the things that he does. He's so funny. And in those things, like today, it's like he's so funny. He's just funny. It's like he's funny. And you learn to just appreciate him for who he is and how he is, and you just enjoy being around him for who he is, regardless. He doesn't have to do anything for me. Just allow me to be next to him and watch him do his own funky thing, and I get to enjoy that. It's light. It's like a light energy. Light, I mean, like not heavy. It's not like it's like hovering. It's like just being next to him and enjoying the watching of him. And it doesn't matter, even if it's like enjoying him liking somebody else or enjoying somebody else's company. It's like, what is he doing now? Oh, that's funky. Okay. Or watching him go through things that are a little bit, awkward, or, he's like Mr. Awkward. I think he also enjoys awkward because he enjoys like, what do you call it? When something madger. Madger is like when something, when something is a little bit difficult for you, so you have to like push through it. It's called ladger. It's like when something, you know what I mean. A lot of times I miss words, and then afterwards I'm like, that was the perfect word there. That was the word. When I'm watching it, I'm like, I'm saying the word that I'm missing. My brain. I think that my I have a good mind. I have a really good mind, but I think like my short-term memory is a little bit. My twin says that his short-term memory is going because other talents are coming in that are becoming way stronger. So like it comes on um, at the expense of his short-term memory, and I kind of feel like that's the same thing that's happening with me, sitting here on the ledge. Oh, that's a good picture. So the lesson that I got was that I wasn't being fair and I wasn't being honest. I wasn't telling my truth. I wasn't telling my truth because I was hurt. My ego was hurt because I wasn't getting back what I wanted, right? What I wanted from the relationship from him. He wasn't doing what I wanted him to do. So I was allowing bashing to go on, or I myself was also bashing, and it was coming from a place that wasn't fair. It wasn't fair to him. It wasn't honest. And in all honesty, it's like when it's like when you get like comfort in your ego getting like, yeah, somebody telling you, yeah, you're right, and telling you, putting this other person down. It kind of makes you feel okay in I guess the feeling was that I was feeling rejected, feeling somehow rejected. And so it was comfortable for me to allow somebody to say some bad things about him because it made me feel better in my rejection. And I was blinded in that place. Like I allowed it to be because it made me feel better. And that is pure weakness. It's not, standing upright. And it wasn't standing upright for him. And it wasn't standing upright for me. Because if I'm honest with myself, first of all, there is no need to feel rejection on anything. Because twin flames were the same soul. So feeling rejected by him, first of all, is silly because he can't reject me unless he's rejecting himself. And secondly, let's say even we're not twin flames. Okay, let's say all that is hogwash, right? If I'm being rejected by somebody, then it is not right. It's not the right relationship, right? If somebody is rejecting me because they don't want me for certain reasons, and first of all, I can also say that in this instance, then he was right to reject me because that's not unconditional love. That's conditional love. That's love, everybody wants somebody to love them unconditionally, not conditionally, not put conditions on it. Okay, only if you don't pay attention to anybody else and you put me on a pedestal and you act this or that way, then I am going to feel good. You can't put that on somebody else. It's not right. And that is definitely not unconditional love. So unconditional love is just that. It's unconditional. There is no condition to it. And so on this twin flame journey, I'm starting to feel like, okay, I'm going to sum it up in a couple of things, a few things there's a couple of things that I want to sum up here. Well, first thing is that the twin flame journey is teaching us unconditional love. It's at the soul level. And it's teaching us unconditional love, which is the language of the universe. So once we come into full unconditional love with our twin, then we have rised to our maximum potential because we are understanding the universe in a way like we're living our highest timeline. Let's say that. There's always work to do. There's always more expansion. But when you reach a place of unconditional love, which is this twin flame journey, it forces you kind of into that. So it's a fast track, right? So it forces you into unconditional love, which is unconditional love also for everything else and for ourselves and everything around us. And so in understanding that, you understand the language of the universe. And so you come into synchronicity with how things are. You quit fighting against. You get into the flow. As Abraham Hicks would say, I love Abraham Hicks. You get into the flow, you quit fighting against, and you connect with the all. And that's where the total wisdom comes from, and the channeling that comes through. And the more you purify yourself, the purer the channeling comes, because we're always channeling from the universe. The thing is that our ego is like our filter. It's like a filter, and it filters it. So if we're off and out of balance with the universe, then our channeling is going to be out of balance. And then we're going to be giving false messages, or messages that have like a little edge to them, or something that's off. So the more we purify ourselves, the purer the channeling becomes. And the channeling is like a gift, not only to, it's a gift to those who receive it, but it's also to ourselves, because when we channel things through us, then we get the gift in ourselves as well. When I turned on the video, I had no idea what I was going to talk about. I just kind of wanted to do an update. And so the second thing is that, okay, so there was the purifying yourself and the unconditional love that you feel for your twin flame. There was something else that there was another subject. Like there were two primary subjects. It was just with me. There's the unconditional love, which is the language of the universe, which is the unconditional love that you feel for your twin flame. And then that brings you, it kind of forces you into purifying yourself and rising in yourself. And with that, you rise by nature of things, you rise the um, into sync with the rest of the universe, and this divine understanding of how the universe works. And you come into mastery of your ego, because I think that we kind of as the human race, we kind of think that we are our ego, and we've kind of been taught into thinking that we are our ego when we're not. So that's one thing. And then I just kind of wanted to give an update and show that I'm okay. Oh, the patterns, that I'm starting to find patterns on this twin flame journey. I love finding patterns, because when you find patterns, you kind of can work with yourself, and you could work with the, those around you whenever you find patterns. So I'm finding patterns that of the purifying, and they're going quicker and quicker. So in the beginning of this twin flame journey, when you find like these falsities in yourself, you start really fighting against, and you go into these loops, and they can last, like, you can go into this down that can last like weeks, until you finally work through it and understand it, and the pain of letting these things go, and changing the way you think. Sometimes it comes in that it's not very clear at all. Like in the beginning, when I first got this lesson this time too, it was kind of foggy. I couldn't really get it. I was trying to wrap my brain around it, trying to understand it, and I couldn't really get where I was off, because your ego is so strong in thinking that it's you, and you're fighting against, and you don't even notice that you're fighting against, just like you don't even notice that you're doing it when you're doing it, right? But the minute I got it, that was when I smoked, yeah. The minute I got it, and I really got it, and see, that I think that is something that I find, like, in the smoking, is the medicine of the smoking. Because sometimes when you smoke, you're able to process things that you might not have processed, or it might have taken you forever to process. Like all of a sudden you smoke, and then it's all of a sudden, okay, so it hits you like a whammy, yeah, it hits you like beside the head, but you get it really quick. This is not a pro smoking video, because as you can see, I haven't smoked for, I'm not smoking, and I'm understanding things. I'm able to like finally bring all of this and put it into words, which sometimes it takes me a few days to like really take like this cloudy understanding of things. Like I understand something, and then I have to like sit in it, and it has to resonate in me. So it's been resonating. Now is Sunday evening, and I've been sitting in this since I got the lesson on Thursday. Friday, I was just sitting in the pain all day, just sitting in it. And by Friday afternoon, see, I went over to I called my twin when I was leaving. I was going to the robbery. I was going to meet also a friend of ours that is a joint friend, like a joint friend. Yeah, a joint friend. So yeah, joint, which is a friend of both of ours. I met him through my twin. And so he came for the weekend, and he came over and he slept over at my house. But I was leaving for the robbery, and my twin invited me to come over, and I went over, and we went to this really cool place. It's a Druze, like a sacred place for the Druzes. And it's a burial place for, I don't remember the name of the place, but it's on my Facebook if anybody wants to go and see on my Facebook. My twin posted a picture of us, because they have like water, and we were filling bottles. We filled bottles there, and so the name of the place is there, and a picture of me and my twin, if you want to see us. And so we went there, and it was really uplifting, and we had a really good time. I was there maybe, like an hour, a little over an hour, and everything was set right between us. The day before, uh, we had conversations all throughout the afternoon and evening. That was when I was really going through my lesson, and it was really sinking in. And I was talking with him, and he kind of showed me the places that I was off, and I'm glad that I asked. And I'm making intentions on always asking, because I don't want to hide from myself. I want the lessons, no matter how painful they are. And so I've been noticing these patterns, and I've noticed that the patterns have always been there. It's like you get these lessons, and then when you get them, you fall into this like mega depression kind of thing, like this really far down. and and then once you get the lesson and you take responsibility for it and you realize it and you can really grasp it and you understand it and you decide that, okay, I'm fixing this, you start rising. And then when you start rising and you really notice where it is, then the lesson, all of a sudden you're remembering all sorts of places that you were off. And not only that, you start seeing how many times it keeps on coming up. Like the opportunities, you keep on getting like opportunities to, it's like when I say the universe is testing you. It's not really the universe is testing you. You have a pattern of behavior, and you are always when you're off with the sync of the universe, then the universe is always going forward and it's always in sync. And when you're off with the sync of the universe, you're going to be hitting up against those places all the time. Because you are constantly in this behavior that is out of sync. So it's going to be presenting itself again and again and again, the opportunity to go ahead and fix yourself, the opportunity to right yourself. And those are the tests that you start seeing. You see, it's not like, oh, the universe is coming in and it's testing me because I'm bad or whatever. It's not. It's just that it's always was like that. The universe is in sync. It's always in sync. And if you're not in sync with it, then the places that you're not in sync, you're going to keep on rubbing up against. And it feels like you're being tested. It feels like, oh, the universe is testing me. It's not. It's just the universe is the way that it is. The universe is. And it's your job to get in sync and to hold yourself right with the universe in righteousness, right? Righting yourself according to the universe. And you would be amazed at how many places we know that we're out of sync and we continue to be out of sync just out of laziness or because it's okay. It's that way anyway, so I'll just continue being that way. Like with eating meat or all sorts of other things that we know that are inhumane, using plastic. Okay, so I still do use plastic. Yeah, I do. It's almost like it's to live in the universe anymore, to live in this world anymore. I need both of my hands to open this water bottle. I've been talking, so to live in the world anymore. It's almost like you almost can't even go to the marketplace and get food without having plastic. So even my water bottle has an outer layer of plastic. And the water that is in the bottle is that water that we got from the natural spring there. It's just the best water. It tastes the best. It comes straight out of the ground. And it's like cold. It comes out of the ground almost freezing cold. It like comes out of the side of the mountain. And they have like like a whole bunch of different places that they put. It comes out of like the hoses that they put in to so that you can fill your water bottles. It's really cool. It's a natural spring. So I'm noticing these patterns. And when you notice the patterns, then the next time it comes in, you're still going to feel the pain, but you know that it's going to pass. And then you don't have to get all caught up in it as much. And this last little loop that I went into, I've come out of really quick. What was it, like 2 days? 2 days in my loop and my mini depression. And then you start building up. It's not like you just snap out of it. You kind of build up. You kind of build up from it because it's kind of like you get punched and then you get knocked out and then slowly you start lifting yourself up. But you feel so much. I feel like so much was repaired in this last little fall. There's so much that I feel resolved in so many different ways. I feel so much in sync. I'm gonna have to start hiking out of here in a minute. It still looks really light, but there's a massive bird up there. Massive. It looks really, really light, but it's starting to get dark. The sun went down. I'm gonna have to start hiking out of here in a minute. It must already be 7:30, or maybe even after, getting close to 8. Um, I made cookies today. I made really good cookies. So just to update, like yesterday, so Friday I saw my twin and we did that, and then on Saturday in the afternoon, so my friend came and he slept over and he's so nice. He's like, and we have the best conversations. We really do. He's so spiritual and has like such depth to him, and sensitivity. And he's also on a spiritual awakening. He is doing shamanic ceremonies. He's learning how to do shamanic ceremonies. And he also is an outstanding person. I'm so blessed to have so many outstanding people in my life. And I really have wanted to introduce him to one of my past boyfriends. And my past boyfriend came and did camping on the beach at the place that we were. And so I got a chance to introduce them to one another. And my ex-boyfriend also. I think that we broke up. I think it was about 5 years ago. He's had a new girlfriend, life partner, you call her, for the last. It's been over 4 years. They're like you can see that they're really comfortable together. They've been together for a long time, and that they're compatible, and that's really good. And I'm happy for them. And it was a really good meeting. And he is also something unique and something special. He teaches tantra and self-acceptance, but through sexuality. And he's exceptional, exceptional, exceptional. He wrote a book. He started writing it when we were together, so I was there for part of it. I hope that it gets translated into English because it's a really good book. It's monologues. It's people's stories about their how about their sexuality. Men, only men, that are talking about their sexuality and their whole life story with sexuality, how they grew up, how they were introduced to sex, different hangups that they have. There's all sorts of things in there, like a like somebody in a wheelchair, and that passed away since, but he told his story of what it feels like to not have functioning, and all sorts of married men. There's somebody that has that their fantasy is different than than who they date, because they fantasize about very, very fat women, but they don't want to be seen with fat women, so they go out with stick figures. Yeah, all sorts of things. Married men what their sexual life is with their partner, as they talk about masturbation, all sorts of things. So I know so many really super interesting people, and I just feel blessed in that way. It's like I think that it's God sent, but also I feel like it's just in who you are is who you attract into your life. If you're interested in interesting people, then you notice interesting people, and those are the kind of people that you're surrounded with. And so I kind of find that to be extraordinary. Um, so I want to go ahead and sum up this. So I was talking about the patterns that we find, and I've been noticing that those patterns. And so when I do get down into a hump, like a place where like I did over this, it seems to go so much quicker now. I seem to be able to get myself out of it so much quicker than I used to be able to. But in the knowing that this is a loop, and I can already see the loops, and I can already see how to dissipate them. And in doing that, then I'm able to dissipate it much quicker than I used to be able to. And it's interesting when you start seeing the patterns and you're able to overcome them in that way. So I really appreciate you guys watching, and I'm sending you lots of love.